Hey, what's going on, everybody? The Area Lord is back for another edition in a series that I seem to do every year at this rate. It's a series that I kind of wanted to do more episodes of in the past. I probably should have taken advantage of it in the past, but that's alright. I can just do it in my free time whenever time permits. The last episode I did, ironically, was my huge collection of old classic games from last summer. And now, almost a year later, we're doing this one. And this one is going to be a little bit different because it's going to focus on something that doesn't have to do with games, or really, it's another entertainment medium that we're going to talk about today. And if you saw the title of the video, you know exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is a TV network owned by Viacom, and they have been around since, I want to say, the early to mid-90s, because that was when, obviously, I watched them heavily. And, yeah, so what I'm going to talk about today is kind of the rise and fall of Nickelodeon, and where I think they went right in the past, like when I was a kid, memory lane, what I remember of Nickelodeon when I was a kid, and now kind of where I see Nickelodeon going. Obviously, I don't really watch it because it's a network mainly for kids and young teenagers, and I don't really fit that that marketing mix there, so I'm not really a prime candidate to be watching their newer shows, because I mean, honestly, all their newer shows suck anyway. But ironically, the main advertisement for the 360 dashboard is some stupid cartoon show, so I suppose this would be good. However, I am going to overlay this video with a few images of some of the shows that I watched. I can't really give you guys clips in this video of the shows that I watched because I'm sure fucking Viacom is going to try to sue me for $1 bazillion and give me copyright strikes and shit, so I want to avoid that. Maybe I'll put the intro to a few shows because I know those videos are up on YouTube and they haven't been flagged, so maybe I could get away with the intros to the video, to the TV series that I liked. We'll see. Maybe I'll make a mashup at the end, and you guys. Here's an idea. I'll make a mashup of all the TV shows, the old Nickelodeon shows, the ones I really liked. I'm going to put them at the end, and you guys can kind of say, "Oh yeah, I remember watching that show. I remember watching that show." Yada yada yada. Okay. All right. So Nickelodeon, basically, when I was a kid, I grew up in the '90s. All right, I'm a '90s kid. You'll hear people saying, "Oh, '90s kids. All those alternative bands, Nirvana, Foo Fighters, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers, like just all these, it was a feel-good era. It was almost like, some adults talk about like the 80s and stuff. People talk about the 90s because that was also a very heavy rap era. That wasn't really part of my 90s experience. I was a kid, so I didn't really grow up with the rap music. I know people like Ice Cube and, some other huge rap stars, made like real rap music, not crap hip-hop bullshit that we hear nowadays from people, but like real rap music, which I, a few years down the road, like, I would listen to some of this music and be like, actually, it wasn't too bad. But my childhood was basically, classic, alternative, rock and roll kind of stuff, and when I watched TV, it was mainly on Nick, and they had a diversity of shows. I remember it was generated towards the younger audiences, but they also had shows that were more like general. It was more like the whole family could watch it. It was almost like ABC Family, or what's the other network that they have that kind of stuff? Disney, like Toon Disney or whatever the fuck it's called. They had a lot of general shows, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, All That, or, they had, like, the Slime Time, like, they had a lot of these, like, game shows where, like, people competed, and you could get prizes, and sometimes you could call in, like, it was all, but it was a show that was exclusive on Nickelodeon, and they had a lot of, cool, little promos that they do in there. And then they'd have, like, some real-time shows that they'd have on Nickelodeon. There was one show I remember watching, like, Saturday mornings with my family and my brothers and my parents. It was like Action Heroes Now. And basically the premise of the show is, it was like these little, like, action figures. It was almost like Toy Story, except it wasn't animated. It was these little action figures, and they got into all sorts of trouble. and it was really, it was quite hilarious because it was these little action figures, and they would just get, these things would get destroyed. Like, some of them would get melted, some of them would get, like, run over by cars, they'd get, like, torn up in, like, fan units. Like, these things, it was just, like, destruction and mayhem on, like, this ultimate level with these little action figures. It was just hilarious, because you see these things talking and interacting, it's like this whole story, but then there's just this crazy shit that happens. And when I was a kid, I thought it was the funniest thing. Like, it was just hilarious to watch these things get, like, destroyed. It was funny. It was funny humor. You know, maybe along the lines of Three Stooges slapstick kind of comedy. But I liked it. I mean, it was really funny kind of humor. And again, it was relatable to a whole bunch of different audiences, alright? People who were adults, like people, you know, kids, or even adults could watch these shows and they could be interested in them. Like, it wasn't something that was just locked to the kid, you know, market. You know, it was like a lot of different people could watch these shows and be entertained by them. And I think that was where Nickelodeon shined in the past. I think that was why their network was successful, because kids and adults alike could view the content and still, you know, have their parents watch it. It was almost like, you know, oh, the whole family can sit down and watch Nickelodeon. You know, that's kind of like the premise. And a lot of the shows that they had as well were kind of structured around, you know, trying to construct some type of morality or some type of, you know, growing up sense for kids. Like, now you'll get into some of the cartoon shows like Hey Arnold and Rocket Power. You know, those two shows were kind of like coming of age, because Rocket Power was very sports-centric. It was basically a group of these, you know, teenager kids who were really into sports, and basically their interest in sports, they did, you know, like hockey and surfboarding and like skating. Like, they were the ultimate jocks, basically. And it was basically for people who like to do physical outdoor activities. Like, it was just centralized around the fact that people like to do that. So you had that kind of market for people who watched that. And it was pretty interesting. I really liked it when I was growing up. I remember watching Rocket Power, and I'll put the intro to Rocket Power probably at the end of this video. Another show, Hey Arnold, that show is just hilarious. Again, it's a coming-of-age story. It's a bunch of kids in 4th, 5th grade, I believe, you know, going through the motions, you know, maybe like crushes that they had in school, and, you know, things that people do, like to help each other, helping friends out, you know. It was just this teamwork kind of show where Hey Arnold had kind of his friends. Sometimes he was harassed. Sometimes he had to help other people from being harassed. Like, it was just this really cool story, and it kind of, like, as a kid going to school, I kind of, you know, it was a good reference point to, you know, go to school, come home, you know, maybe at night watch a little bit of this show, and it was kind of a good feel-good show, you know. It was very relatable, and that was what I think was great about Nickelodeon. Again, to bring it back to that point, that Nickelodeon was a very relatable TV show for a lot of people. And then you had the humorous shows like SpongeBob, which came out in, like, you know, I think the first SpongeBob episode was like 99. The classic SpongeBob, not the new SpongeBob, which is completely over-marketed and freaking oversaturated and bullshit. The new SpongeBob, or not, no, sorry, the old SpongeBob is what I meant to say, was the bomb. And I'm sure most people can agree that the old SpongeBob was just, the humor was just, again, it was that broad humor where it could be, like, adults could find it funny, kids could find it funny, young kids could find it funny. Like, it was just a lot of, like, anyone could really get into this kind of style of humor, but the show was meant for kids. It was cool. It had some inside references that maybe only adults could get. Like, the show was funny because the humor worked. Like, there wasn't any bullshit singing, stupid plot lines that don't make sense, like regurgitated jokes, like, over and over. Like, I honestly think that SpongeBob has just run its course. Like, I mean, it's been on the air for over 10 years now. It's coming on, how many years has it been on? Like, so 99, so what, like 15 years? Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, I just honestly think that this show kind of needs to be, you know, I mean, maybe they should say, you know, oh, alright, there's only a couple more episodes of SpongeBob coming out, other than my game tray, which I just hit by accident. Yeah, they should say, only a few more episodes of SpongeBob coming out. Watch them, and then that's it. Like, why is there, like, are they only keeping this show on the air because there's people watching it? Like, I guess that's why, because if people weren't watching the show, there would be no reason for them to air new episodes. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me that they have to keep running this series, which was good in the past, but now you've kind of run the series into the ground. Like, it's run, the jokes have run dry. Like, I mean, if I was the voice actors for, like, SpongeBob and Patrick and Squidward, I'd be tired. I'd be like, oh my god, I've been doing a children's show for 15 years. Like, holy crap. Like, you'd think, like, I think the actors would get bored after doing the same bull crap over and over and over again. But I digress a little bit. So then there were those shows, and then, you know, along the lines of SpongeBob, you had the slapstick kind of shows. You had, like, Angry Beavers and Cat Dog, which were two shows, those were just, like, off-the-walls kind of antics shows. Those were really, really funny. Just, like, those characters, they were like animals, and they would get into all sorts of trouble and misfits. They'd go on crazy adventures, and, again, it was funny. Like, the show was meant to be humorous. It wasn't meant to have, like, these really boring, overplayed jokes. It wasn't meant to have, like, some sort of super fucking element. Like, it was just down to the humor, and that was what was great about, like, all these shows kind of had these strengths, and that's why Nickelodeon really shined as a network in the early to late, 90s time period, and then even through to the 2000 era. So, you know, I would watch these shows, and then you'd have shows that would support it. Now, when I grew up, you know, through the 90s into the 2000s, I started to watch shows that weren't just all, you know, cartoonish. I started to watch shows like Drake and Josh, Ned's Declassified. These were shows that talked about coming of age, growing up, and just kind of life lesson stuff. However, they weren't, you know, cartoons. They were like Teen Nick shows, they called them. And these shows were, you know, it was real life, you know, footage, and it was, you know, real life actors. But, you know, Ned's Declassified was in a middle school, and it was, you know, the whole premise of the show was him giving you tips. Every episode was centralized around, like, you know, here's what you do in science class, or it's like they had an adventure in science class, maybe, you know, here's what you do in, you know, art class, and there was an episode based around art class. Like, it was just all different topics. And it was this whole guidebook that the main character wrote, which is like how to survive middle school, which is, you know, what most kids go through, you know, nowadays. You know, how to survive the ins and outs of, you know, school, much like Hey Arnold was, you know, back in, you know, the 90s for the cartoon part of it. So that was good. And then Drake and Josh was more, you know, humorous kind of thing. It was the story and antics of two brothers coming up. And then you had kind of, so I didn't really watch any of the other Teen Nick shows other than that. I know you had some other shows that kind of went along with that, but like I was never interested in them. I know you had things like the Amanda Show, which was pretty cool because that had like little skits and segments. I think that's what started the whole Drake and Josh Ned's Declassified era. The Amanda Show had like all these guests and like skits. It was almost like a Tosh 2.0 or Tosh.0 kind of show where you have a guy talking about things, and there's skits, and there's things happening, and there's jump cuts, and it's like this whole interactive theme-based show, and there's an audience. That's what you had for a lot of, you know, and Amanda did a good job. I think she's like a Lindsay Lohan right now. She's like out of her mind right now, but at least for the time being, you know, it was a very strong show, and I really enjoyed that show. And again, for all of the reasons that I've mentioned already. And then you come into some of the shows, the cartoon shows that were more modern in the 2000 era. And these were shows that I liked for their story, okay? You had Avatar: The Last Airbender, which, if you're a long-term fan of my channel, you know that I've actually done review episodes for The Legend of Korra on this channel. So obviously I've stuck with the series for that long. And also Danny Phantom. I'm not sure if you guys know that show. I think that show is really underrated. Like, it got canceled in 2007 after 3 seasons. I didn't think that show was too bad. Like, you had some pretty cool episodes, some pretty cool plot twist episodes where there was, like, you know, the ultimate enemy where he was fighting, like, an an older evil version of himself, and I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I honestly thought what happened in that series was pretty interesting, just in my opinion. I thought it was pretty cool, pretty interesting what was going on in that series. And same thing with Avatar. Like, Avatar wasn't canceled, and, you know, its series and its story was kind of flushed out. And you got to see, you know, from start to finish, the story of, Avatar Aang and his whole adventures. And they showed that for, 3 seasons, 61 episodes, which was kind of crazy. But those shows, again, were good. Like, it was very centralized on the... It was basically centralized on the story. And that's, again, the great point about Nickelodeon, which I'm trying to bring across, that Nickelodeon shined in a whole bunch of different ways, so that if you didn't like say you didn't want to go to Nickelodeon to see the story. Like, oh, I don't feel like watching the story. Screw that. Oh, alright, I'll watch something for the humor. I'll watch Drake and Josh, or maybe Hey Arnold. Like, anything that you were interested in, like any type of TV show, pretty much. Like, unless it was like a drama or something, that you could see on another network. For the most part, for kids, like, it accomplished what it set out to do. It was a kids' network, which also was kind of a family network as well. It set out to do that, and it accomplished it really well. Why do you think they ended up having hotels and cruises and all that other crap that followed, all that promotional PR marketing stuff that followed? Because they were building a brand off of this network, and it was successful. Their brand was working. However, even though the brand worked, down the road they started to lose their way. They started to, as I said, especially with SpongeBob, run the same shows into the ground over and over and over for no apparent reason, okay? How about just stupid TV shows which just don't need to be on the air? Like, there's no reason that these shows should be on the air. I'm trying to think of some. I'm not sure of, like, I know, like iCarly was, like, one of these new stupid T-Nick shows, and, like, the Naked Brothers band, I remember seeing that ads for that. And then there was, like, spin-offs of some of, like, Jimmy Neutron, The Fairly Odd Parents. How did I forget those? Those were two, like, I don't know, like, fantasy, adventurous kind of shows. One was a cartoon. I think they were both cartoons, but they used different animation styles. I was also into those. Those were 2 other great TV shows. So, the collection of shows on Nickelodeon was just massive. Like, I've named a lot of shows, like, just in this video alone that I was interested in. Like, there were a lot of them, and the creators who made these shows, like, it was kind of the in thing. Like, Nickelodeon was the in network, It was competing, against Cartoon Network and, Toon Disney and all that other crap. Like, it was up there, And I think it was a major competitor. But nowadays, Nickelodeon is losing massive money, okay? And this was actually the reason why I decided to make this video, because just the other day, Nickelodeon decided to pull The Legend of Korra Season 3 completely off of Nickelodeon and put it online, okay? And I don't know if it was due to low viewership. I think that was why, because not many people were watching it. But then again, I don't know what... I mean, they're sinking into the toilet. They've completely lost their way. Almost every single show that I've listed to you guys has been removed. Like, any classic show or any modern show that I've listed, I think even The Fairly Odd Parents, even though they've renewed it a whole bunch of times, it's been taken off. Almost every single show, probably except freaking SpongeBob, has been removed from the network. Now all you get on Nickelodeon is crappy animated shows, and all of these, all these weird internet celebrity shows. Like, that annoying guy Fred on YouTube? He got, like, his own Nickelodeon series and movie spin-off series on the... Like, it's like, why do we need this? Like, that guy is the most annoying person on the planet. Like, why would you put him on this network, which used to feature a whole bunch of great shows, and you're gonna ruin it with that? Like, really? Like, Nickelodeon just started doing a whole bunch of stupid stuff by removing the shows that people really liked and putting these really crappy shows on. And now it's to the point where no one wants to watch the network. Like, now that Korra's off, and now that all these other shows are off, like, I don't see there being a need to watch Nickelodeon anymore. I mean, I don't. I mean, the only TV shows I'm interested in nowadays is The Walking Dead, which I've made review episodes for. I'm looking forward to Season 5 later this year. And then this summer I've actually been watching Breaking Bad because my roommate suggested it, and I can see why people love it. I've just finished Season 3, and I can see why Breaking Bad is just an amazing show. I mean, but those are different kind of shows. That's on AMC, and that's completely different from Nickelodeon, and that's, you know, kind of like TV drama kind of stuff. That's not really what Nickelodeon's going for, but Nickelodeon's just dead in the water, is the main kind of thing you should get away from this video, that they lost it. They lost their way. Like, anyone who's an old school fan of Nickelodeon like me, it will tell you, they've completely lost their way, and it's really disappointing for me as a fan of this series, or not series, a TV show, and it's really disappointing to see that. So I think that's pretty much it. This video's gone kind of long. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna put some of the intros and outros to some of my favorite TV shows from Nickelodeon on this video. You know, write in the comments if you have any, the good old days of Nickelodeon. Definitely write your comments if you have any of those. I'd love to hear them. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate all your viewership. And I'm not sure what the next memory lane will be, but this one just came to mind after Nickelodeon Can: The Legend of Korra, which was one of their modern shows, which was based off of Avatar, which was doing well, in my opinion. Well, even fucking Korra, like, they limited. The reason why Season 1 had such a crappy ending was because they only gave them 12 episodes in one season. So they rushed the story of Korra and tried to squeeze it into 12 episodes. And for that reason alone, it sucked. Like, they did not give them the 20-episode run that the original Avatar series had. Avatar: The Last Airbender, every season had 20 episodes. That's not the case for Korra. They only give them like 12, 13 episodes per season. And it limits the story, and it forces you to condense. You jam a whole bunch of content plot-wise into the episodes, and you end up getting episodes that are less valuable and not as good as they could have been. And it's disappointing because if Nickelodeon hadn't been such tight-ass morons and ruined their network, you could have had really, really good stories told from The Legend of Korra. You would have given creators and thinkers and people who love to make stories and love to innovate, you would have given these people more creative space to make great shows for people who want to watch them. But now that you've killed your network, no one can do that anymore. Now Korra is only online, and the shows that you have on your network are just like, no one gives a shit. Like, it's just, I think the age of Nickelodeon, you'll see Nickelodeon, give it a few more years, Nickelodeon will be completely, it'll just be done. It'll be like G4, where the only stuff that you'll see on it will be movies and rehashes of stuff that you've seen before. And that's pretty much it for freaking, Nickelodeon at this point. Honestly, nowadays, more people just go online to watch TV shows anyway. There's so many online streaming services, like, I think the age of TV, like, TV is literally competing with all of this online, on-demand kind of stuff. Like, back when I was into Nickelodeon and all this stuff, like, you didn't have things like online distribution and even on-demand or on the TV where you can just click a show and it boots up instantly. Yeah, I guess that's another reason. Maybe all of this competition, like, it's contributed to Nickelodeon kind of being in this dire straight situation. And unfortunately, it's contributing to this this circumstance that they found themselves in. So, oh well, rest in peace, Nickelodeon. You've given me years of great entertainment, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to take my TV viewership elsewhere. Even though I'm not really, I don't really have time to watch TV nowadays. The only TV I watch is some stuff on AMC when there's new stuff. But other than that, really not watching that much. I'd say the only, I watch Family Guy every now and then in terms of cartoons. I don't really like South Park, but yeah, I mean, that's really all my TV is limited to nowadays, freaking, Family Guy for comedy and Walking Dead for, serious kind of series stuff, so. And then I guess I've been somewhat keeping up on the Korra stuff because Season 3 isn't actually half that bad, but that's really my TV viewership and Nickelodeon as a whole. So thank you for watching. I know the video went a little long, but I kind of had a lot to rant about in terms of this network, which I liked a lot in the past, but has kind of gone downhill since. So thank you guys for watching. This has been episode 4 of Memory Lane. I'll add it to the playlist, even though freaking Memory Lane episodes are, 2 from 2012, 1 from 2013, freaking 1 from 2014. I guess at this rate, the next episode will be in 2015. So, so I don't know. We'll see. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.